All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome, welcome, welcome. Matt Solomon here, and I am joined by the one and only Rick Solomon. You may notice we have similar names. We are related, yes. I'm not going to tell you who is whose father. You'll have to look at the video to figure that out. But Rick, it's so cool to have you with us today. And so, on behalf of myself and everybody who's watching, thanks for taking some time to be with us.
Sure, my pleasure.
Good, good. So today we're going to be diving into a very important topic, and really we're going to be talking about why accountants are not seen as advisors to their clients. And so ultimately, what we're noticing is that there's two major things, and we're going to dive into this. But one, your clients don't see you as a valued advisor, and so they treat you that way. And the other thing is you're not seeing yourself that way. So we're going to dive into that today with Rick, who has seen it all, done it all, experienced it all, and worked with a lot of accountants in helping them make that transition. So Rick, welcome. And I'd love to just get your first take on this and just talk about what happens and what you're seeing in terms of accountants not seeing themselves and their clients not seeing them as an advisor. What's really going on there?
Well, it's really honestly very sad for me because I think we're missing the bus. The bus keeps pulling up at the station and we're going around, where's the bus? Where's the bus? And then it pulls out. And the reality is I don't think I've ever met an accountant that is not an advisor to one degree or another to their clients, but they don't see themselves that way. Clients don't see themselves that way. And we pay a very high price for that. We pay a very high price because the unfortunate reality is, and I'm not demeaning the profession, I'm a CPA myself, but we're seen as bean counters and we do so much more and we're worth so much more. But because the clients don't see us in that role, we don't see ourselves in that role, we get paid as bean counters. We compete on price. We're seen as a commodity, interchangeable. We're not, but we're perceived that way. And in the market, perception is reality. So, and like I said, we do advise our clients, but because we don't take that role of the advisor and we don't see ourselves that way and clients don't, we give it away. We give away the best of what we have to offer. We give away the value all the time that's worth gold, and we sell the straw. We sell the cheap stuff. There's a very high price to pay for not assuming that role, not understanding what it means to really own that role. And it's sad because it's all over the place.
Yeah, you're totally right. And I think, what we're seeing is it's not just that you're not getting paid the dollar amount that you're worth, which is a major thing. And we both have talked to accountants over the last couple of decades. And we know that they're not getting, they're struggling with finances and things like that. And they're stuck doing this high volume and low profit work. They're stuck in that model. It's beating them up. It's wearing them down slowly. But they're happy to keep working because this profession is incredible at just showing up and getting things done. But, that strength overdone becomes a weakness of they don't get to step back and look at what's really going on. But one of the issues is not just the dollars. Obviously, it's important if you're not saving for retirement, if you're struggling to pay bills, if you're doing okay, but you don't really have, the additional money to do the things that you want to do. If you're feeling limited in money, that's one big thing. But the other issue is that you're not being seen for your worth. And as humans, we actually, no matter what you say or do, you feel that. You feel what it's like when a client comes in and they just don't appreciate and value you, no matter how hard you work or how many hours or any of that stuff. And there's no denying that. We can chalk it up to there's something wrong with that person. We can chalk it up to this or that. But at the end of the day, when we're not in our power, when we're not in the place of really bringing the most to the table in terms of our knowledge, then one, we're going to feel that from our clients, and two, we're going to feel that in ourselves, that we're not doing the most fulfilling work. And so when you do another tax return, another piece of accounting work, and all these things over and over and over again, you start to sort of numb out to the sense of fulfillment that's really there and available to you. That's one thing that I know we have both seen. But here's another thing, Rick, and I want to get your perspective on this. Talk about how we're giving our power away because we're not owning our advisor stance and who we are, and how the client begins to dictate who we are and what it means to have somebody else tell us who we are.
Well, to both your points together, there's a great frustration in not being valued. And so many accountants I talk to say, I love to ask the question because it helps them become more aware. Do you feel like you're really getting paid what you're worth? And it's rare that I hear an accountant say yes. The answer is no. I give so much to my clients. They don't appreciate it. They complain about the fees, or even if they don't complain about the fees, they don't say, hey, can I pay you more? So we give away so much because we don't really appreciate our value. And our value is in so many areas. It's what we've learned. It's our analytical skills, our ability to read the numbers and understand the numbers and know what they mean. But also, we've learned a tremendous amount just by being exposed to so many businesses over the years. We've seen businesses do well. We've seen businesses fail. We've seen everything in the middle. There's this wealth of knowledge. And at some level, whether you see it or not, whether you're in touch with it or not, it hurts to give away your real value, have it not be appreciated, not get paid for it. And then you go on busting your butt on that compliance treadmill, doing the work you got to do to get it out the door and to pay the bills. But underneath all that, knowing that you're not being paid what you're really worth, it's frustrating, especially when that's going on year after year after year. And you don't know what to do about it. It's like, okay, when's it going to end? When I retire? We all want to be appreciated and valued for what we bring, and a lot of accountants are not. And I have to say, it's our own fault in a lot of ways. We just don't realize what the possibilities are.
Yeah, I love that. And I think, Rick, what you share, it's important, before we talk about the solution here, to talk about and to really understand that this is a long-term thing. And while we sometimes tend to look at such a micro scale of our lives, that will show up and get the next tax return done, and we'll show up. But what happens is all of a sudden you look at the macro perspective and you're 10 years into doing that, and you're 15 or 20 years into doing that. And all of a sudden it's like, where did your life go? You set out to build a practice a certain way. You're sitting on this great knowledge. And ultimately it's like, I mean, we talk to people all the time who are in their 50s and 60s and 70s who are like, I can't retire. I don't know where retirement is. And it's because I've been working like crazy. And so why is it that I'm doing all this work and I'm not able to retire? I don't have the money to do the things I want, or I'm doing just this nonstop work. And it's really important to stop. And we're calling on you guys to stop for a minute and to look at the long-term implications of what you're doing. Do you know where this thing is going? Is it going to go? It's not going to go any differently than if you're doing the same thing you did yesterday. It's not going to be any different than it is today until you do something about it. And it's so important because accountants are so good at getting work done that they step back and think about stuff. So I really wanted to say that.
Yeah, I want to reinforce that, because one of the reasons we don't step back and question it is we accept it as the way it is. It's what everybody else is doing. It's what you see out there. So we think we have no other options. I want to just tell a really quick story about an accountant, and I call it his awakening. His name was Jim. I love the guy. And Jim told me the story. You could feel the pain as he's sharing it. I think a lot of people can relate to it. So Jim got this new client, traditional compliance work, and the client said to him, Jim said, I'm going to see you about a half a day a month. Client said, great, I have only two requests. One, you see me in the second half of the day, and second, you allow me to take you out for dinner. And Jim said, sure, twist my arm, I'll do it. Got the new client, it was a decent fee. And the client would take him out for dinner every month. And he'd go to nice places and spend a lot of money. And this is going on for a couple of years. And finally, Jim said, they sort of became friends. And Jim said to him, I got to ask you, is it really worth it to you to spend this money and take me out to great dinner and nice wine every month? And the client, he said, and when I heard Jim tell the story, you could see he felt like such an idiot. He said, the client looked at me and smiled, and he said, Jim, I don't know what you do in my office. I don't understand that accounting and tax stuff. I'm sure you're doing it right because my bookkeeper is very happy and, I'm not getting in trouble. He said, but these meetings are worth 10 times more to me. The conversations for me to be able to talk to you and ask questions and talk about them, worth 10 times more than the stuff you do in the office. And Jim said, so I told the client, okay, well, that's good. That's really great. I'm glad to hear that. But on the inside, I said to myself, this is him telling me the story. You idiot. Look what you're giving away. 2.5 hours of your evening for a $50 dinner. And he realized how much value the client was getting, because the client told him that in that moment. That was transformational for him. He vowed never again. And, he went through the steps to change all that. But it was an incredible story. Really incredible.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I know that everybody out there can relate to this to one degree or another. Rick, I know your stories of how you did that before you really found the way out. And the same thing for basically every accountant we talk to. They are giving this stuff away because they view it as part of their obligation. They don't formalize that stuff. And so ultimately they're just giving it and giving it and giving it away. Like you said, giving giving the gold away and trying to sell straw and wondering why things are not fulfilling and happy and all that. And so it's a great point. It's a really good story. So I also want to talk about one more piece because I want to help these people. Obviously, those of you watching, I want to share with you some perspective of how to make this change and what you need to do. But before we get into that, there's one more piece I want to hit on here. And that is that there's a hidden benefit to not viewing yourself as an advisor. There's a hidden benefit to that. And that is that you get to keep yourself small and that you don't have to put your butt on the line because you're formalizing this advisory stuff. And for a lot of us, there's fear in the way of stepping into this role. There's fear in the way of saying, you know what, I really do know my stuff. There's fear and things like that in the way of being able to say, I have a great education, and to recognize that you can read the tea leaves of a business like most business owners can't even imagine reading, and that you have all this wealth of knowledge. And there's a benefit to keeping yourself small. And that's that you don't have to step into the light and you don't have to step into your power. And so, Rick, I'd love to hear your perspective on how you see people, how you've seen accountants do that, and just what that looks like for you. And then I want to get into the solution of how we can help them solve this problem.
Yeah, well, the first thing I want to point out, Matt, is that I would call it a seeming benefit. So if I play small, if I don't step into the advisor arena, if I'm not getting paid for it, I'm safe. Yeah, in some way, maybe, but there's a very high cost, and that's what we've been talking about.
Yep.
A woman comes to mind. Her name is Kathy, and Kathy had a very traditional practice. She was working crazy hours, making barely a decent living, but doing all the things that we're talking about, a lot of compliance work, a lot of bookkeeping work. And she decided she really wanted to step in this direction. And one of the conversations with her is, well, are there any of your existing clients that need help? And she said, well, there's one client I have that is paying me $800 a month for bookkeeping. And he needs a lot more help. And he's always asking me questions and I'm always answering them. But she was giving it away because she had no structure, no process. She didn't know what else to do. She learned what else to do. She learned what it means to step into the role of the advisor. And she did it. And she had a conversation with the client. I won't get into the details. But the result of that was the client, she reinvented the relationship and it became a $3,500 a month client from $800. That's over 4 times the price. She wasn't putting in much more time, but she had a structure and a process around it. Now, it scared the hell out of her because she had to move from playing small, which although it wasn't what she wanted and it wasn't great and she knew she was paying the price, but she felt safe. But she made the decision anyway. You know, she had the fear, but she had the courage, and she moved beyond it. And I'd say it was probably within 2 months, I remember a great conversation with her where she said, I really can do this. I see that I can do this. And then she started doing the same thing with a couple of other clients. And then she actually sold off the rest of her practice. And with 3 clients, she was making more than she was making with about 80 clients that she was going crazy for. If you see her face, I wish we had a before and after photo of her, because what she looked like beforehand was like, oh my God, I'm so stressed. And afterward, it's like, life is good. And she wants to pick up 1 or 2 more clients, but she's actually starting to travel and do things she always wanted to do and couldn't do it. So a great story of someone who wasn't stopped by that fear and just decided to go for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. And it's really about and this is so I appreciate everybody for watching this, and obviously you can probably relate to this. And so my question is, where are you not stepping into your power with clients? How are you not stepping into your power in terms of who you are and really owning what you already know? And how is that affecting you? What is the cost to doing that? Is it going to make you do the same thing you did for the last 5 or 10 years, feeling a little stuck, working your butt off and all those things? Or are you willing to go to this next step, which is what we're about to talk about now? And essentially what we found is that if you're not viewing yourself as an advisor, if there's fear, if there's stuff in the way, or if your clients are treating you, they are treating you as a reflection of how you view yourself. If you view yourself in your power, they're not going to push you around. If you don't, they're going to complain about prices and fees and all these things and hours and all that stuff. And so the simple solution, and it's really quite obvious, but at the same time, it's extremely profound, and there's a journey to get there. The simple solution in all this is to step into the identity of being the business advisor and to stop being treated and stop treating yourself as that bean counter, because you're so much more than that. And so, Rick, I want to tap into you for this and just kind of talk a little bit about what it means to step into that, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah, so I think first it's like owning your power, recognize the value, the experience, the knowledge you have. We have a tremendous tendency to undervalue who we are and what we know, so stop it, is what I say to that. Excuse me. And the other piece is there are things to learn. There's a process. There are some steps you can take. You know, there's a way to structure the relationship a little bit differently, and learning how to communicate with the clients so they see you as that advisor. So there's a little bit of a learning curve with it, but it's not huge. I mean, compared to learning accounting or taxes, it's a joke. It's so little, but it's learning how to really own that role and structure that role and talk about that role and own that role. And when you do that, when you see yourself as that advisor, clients will begin to see you in that role. It's really what it comes down to.
Yeah. And one of the things that I love, so we've seen a lot of people make this transition, obviously. One of the things that I love is there really is like it's not like the best accountants in the world can step into this. It's not like there's something about the accounts that are in the advisory role and getting paid for it and owning that are like, they're not like superhuman people compared to the other people. What we've noticed essentially is that there's two things. I mean, there's a group of people who have fear about stepping into this advisory role at first of, can I do it? Do I have what it takes? Are the clients going to pay me? All this stuff. And there's a lot of evidence that they've seen in their lives to tell them no to all those answers. But there's the people who have fear about that. Can I actually do it? And in that group, there's people who actually move forward anyway with the fear, and it's scary, and they figure out and they get the right support and all those things. And then there's a group of people who get scared and they stop and they just get back into the work that they were doing yesterday. And so that's really the major difference in what we've seen has been leading to success and stepping into this identity as a business advisor, getting paid for it, having the freedom of time and energy for it, being able to get back with your family because you're not busy as you were, and still serving people at a more fulfilling level. And so that's what we see in a huge scale. The other thing that we see, and really the qualities that it takes to really succeed here, it's not that you're necessarily smarter or better or stronger or faster than anybody else, but really what it comes down to is a level of commitment. And so we see people who, when they show up, and this is whether it's working with us or other people, when they show up committed to getting out of this place where they're undervaluing themselves, where they're giving away the important and valuable stuff, where they're being treated poorly by clients, and where they're basically slaving away in their own practices of their own design. When we see people who are committed to getting out of that, those are the ones that actually do it. And so with that, when there's a commitment to step into this advisory role, to get paid better, to serve clients at a higher level, and to get your freedom back, that's really what it takes to succeed. You have to be willing, number one, to step into that role. Number two, you have to be willing to go forward. If there's fear, you have to do it anyway. And number three, you have to be committed to doing it, because there's going to be ups and downs on the journey. And if you're not committed, then you're going to get knocked off the roller coaster. And if you are committed, you'll be wearing your seatbelt and you'll actually be able to enjoy the ride. And that's really the difference. So Rick, I'm going to make an offer to everybody if they want to get some support with this. But before we do that, any closing thoughts or words on anything that we shared today? Any questions you want to ask the audience?
Yeah, just one thing. I want to really encourage people to explore this and learn more about it. It's not as complicated as you think. There's a lot of ideas or mistaken beliefs we have about being the valued advisor, like I have to be the business expert with all the answers and all that. It's not nearly that complicated. Once you learn the process, once you understand what it's about, you'll see that it's very much within your grasp. It really, really is. So at the very least, explore it, learn about it, have the conversation, then you can decide. But it's, accountants are often asking, well, where do you find all these clients that are willing to pay advisory work? And I say it's kind of like a fish swimming in the ocean saying, hey, buddy, do you see the water? You know where the water is? I can't find it. We're in the midst of it. Business owners need help, want help. Many of them would pay, not all, but many of them would pay. We're surrounded by opportunities. So explore this, learn what that opportunity is, and then decide.
I love that, Rick. And for that's so cool. And it's so simple, and it's almost like this is too simple, but it's not, because you have to be able to step into what we shared with you, and that will serve you. And so, what I want to share with everybody is that if you're interested in getting some support, if you're interested in exploring how you can step into that advisory role, maybe you're giving it away, or maybe you haven't stepped into it yet. But if you're interested in having the conversation and putting a plan together for how you can get there, then Rick and I are going to actually get on the phone with you. What we ask is that you're really committed to growing your practice, that you really do want this advisory stuff, that you're, the right process. If we showed it to you, that it'd be something that you're willing and ready to explore deeper and to start seeing if it makes sense for you. If you're committed to the status quo, if you're holding on to the edge and you're not willing to make any changes if they appear to be better than what you're doing now, then it doesn't make sense to have the call. But if you do want some help stepping into the advisory role, if you want to have a conversation about how you can do that and what your practice could look like as a result, we would love to, for absolutely no cost for this call, to get on the phone with you. And we'll spend 45 minutes, an hour, just talking through the practice, learning about what's going on for you, helping you get clear on some areas and helping you see some blind spots that may be the things that are exactly what's holding you back in your practice. And so if you want to do that, there is a call link in the description of this video. You can check it out. So just check out that link, set something up. Rick and I have a couple availabilities for the next couple of days. It's not a huge thing. Obviously, we're busy like you guys are. Not as busy, but very busy. So click on the link to schedule a call. You'll actually select the time you want to chat with us, and you'll fill out a form which will take like 3 or 4 minutes. It'll just allow us to be more efficient in our time. From there, you'll get a pretty cool video. I hope you enjoy it. And then make sure you pick up the phone, and we'll give you everything we got to serve you. So Rick, thank you so much. Everybody, thank you so much for watching us today. We hope that this inspires you to not just think about becoming an advisor, but to taking some action and taking some steps to explore it deeper. So guys, thanks for being with us. Rick, I appreciate you very much, man. And until next time, everybody, we'll see you again.